Hey guys, cannedcream here. Now, you know me and you know the content that I produce. I don't normally talk about a specific episode. I prefer to do more overall topics, but I feel as though we really should take a moment to talk about Crusaders of the Lost Mark, which, I know a lot of people in the community are talking about right now, and for good reason. It was a big episode. Possibly one of the best of season 5. I still say Slice of Life has been number 1, but this is a very, very close number 2 for so many great reasons. We had that great character development. We had the CMC getting their cutie marks. We had that pretty good, a little forced but still good heel face turn from Diamond. All these great things that MLP, when they really sit down and put their minds to it, they do amazingly. I love it when My Little Pony decides to really just change something up. For so long, we had Twilight learning the meaning of friendship, and then finally, she became an alicorn, she became the Princess of Friendship. Boom, we closed the chapter on that storyline. For so long, we had the CMC trying to get their cutie marks, and finally, we've closed the chapter on that storyline. I love it when My Little Pony goes ahead and decides, you know what, we've done this for long enough, it's time for the resolution, it's time to start again. And they set it up in such a way that we can have more CMC episodes in the future focusing on new topics, and that is great. And what makes it great is the continuity it provides, and that is what I wanted to talk to you really about today. Continuity in cartoons, because we have been seeing a lot of it. For a moment, let's focus just on My Little Pony. Think about all the episodes we've had since we've returned back from the break, starting with I'm blanking on the title. You know the one where Rarity starts up her new shop in Canterlot. We end that episode with Rarity keeping the shop, handing it over to her new manager, and saying that she's going to stay in Ponyville, but she'll still come back and visit. Jump ahead to the next episode, Rarity investigates, and where do we start off? Right back in that same shop with that same pony that's running it. That is something that My Little Pony hasn't really done that much. They haven't really had one episode really pick up where the last one ended. And it was kind of cool to have that not really needed continuity, but still there. It makes the world feel cleaner, more whole, like these characters aren't just having episodes, they're actually having lives. And we've seen a lot of that so far this season. We've seen old characters return. We've heard mentions of past battles and past events. We've seen old holidays return again for a second time. We just had another Sisterhood social once again. That is... I'm loving it. I don't know why they're so heavy on it this season, but I'm totally okay with it because they are handling it wonderfully. Continuity is a wonderful thing in cartoons, and we have been seeing so much of it lately. I grew up in the 90s, and a lot of the cartoons I watched in the 90s, things like Darkwing Duck and Rescue Rangers and SWAT Cats, and so many things that were really all self-contained little episodes. What happened in the one episode never affected the next. Everything was its own nice little neat story. Recently, and to the best of my knowledge, it kind of really got pioneered by things like Avatar: The Last Airbender and the Teen Titans cartoon. They were the ones that took Western... I guess I can't say they were the ones who took it, but those were the best examples of people taking Western cartoons that are normally all individual little things and turning them into an overall arcing universe, the same as any dramatic series or almost any anime, movie, series, comic book. They're telling us that both little kids and adults can appreciate and follow and enjoy an overarching plot. At least overarching plot threads, even if the characters aren't always chasing the exact same goal episode to episode, there's at least this feeling that they're in this wide world. And it's something that a lot of cartoons are doing now. It's no longer the exception to the rule. It's becoming almost expected. Look at things like Gravity Falls, which does have that same mystery element, those same questions that are being revealed then answered, and then bringing up new questions. For Steven Universe, after the first 5 or 6 episodes, they began introducing new continuity, new story arcs, and following them through from beginning to end over the course of sometimes entire seasons, sometimes through the entire series. Even Adventure Time, during the last new episodes they had involving the comet, they had about 6 or 7 episodes all dedicated to the coming of this comet that's going to crash into Ooo. Then you even have shows, for example, Amazing World of Gumball or Regular Show, which are a bit more like the older cartoons. They don't necessarily follow any string of logic. However, there are still a few bits of continuity to them. Off the top of my head, they're really more just relationship based. You know, characters get girlfriends, they get boyfriends, they lose them, but they still have them. Like, over a couple of episodes, they'll mention them or you'll see them. And again, it's all the same thing. It makes you realize that this world does exist in more than just 15-minute to 20-minute increments. It makes everything feel much more real, and I love that so many cartoons are doing that. That we have this golden age where cartoons are not just seen as mindless entertainment for children. They can be a way to tell a coherent story, sometimes comedic, sometimes dramatic, sometimes, in the case of Gravity Falls, honestly frightening. But that is amazing that it's no longer being pigeonholed into just this one specific genre. That this is where you are, this is all you can do, there's no room for improvement. I love that that's been blown out of the water, and I love that even shows like My Little Pony that are, yes, still meant for little girls, but knows that they have this much larger male and female audience, from, you know, young kids to, you know, post-college, you know, 30-somethings, that even they can every now and then be like, you know, yeah, let's take a story thread, let's begin it, let's introduce it, let's develop it, and then let's bring it to its conclusion, and then start again with something new. I really hope that this is a trend that continues, and let me tell you why. It is because it just makes the overall quality so much better. If you find a character that you like, if you have a story arc that you like, if you have a headcanon, a theory, a question, for the first time in a long time, it can finally be answered. If you have an OTP, they might actually become a thing. You know, go back to 90s cartoons, and that whole character interested romantically in another character still existed. Of course, romance has been a part of cartoons for almost as long as cartoons have existed. You can jump back to old, you know, Betty Boop and Looney Tunes cartoons, and you'll still see romantic interest every now and then. But once again, it's all contained within a singular episode. Or it's all, this was much more popular, you'd have a character that would pine after another character, and that would be it. There would never be any conclusion. There would never be any answer to that question of, will they get together? Will they not get together? It just stayed for as long as the cartoon was on the air. Question that was never answered. Now things like this are answered. Sometimes characters do hook up. Sometimes they stay together. And sometimes they do break apart. I know I used this example before, but I'd like to use it again. Let's jump back to Adventure Time. Let's talk about how Finn was interested in Princess Bubblegum for the longest time. And for a long time, it was set up like the old cartoons. He pined after her, but nothing ever became of it. It was kind of a tease. But eventually, he did grow to understand, okay, this is never going to happen. I'm just going to work to get over it. Then Flame Princess came. And then they got together. And then they were a couple for quite a while. And then they broke up, and they've stayed broken up. And Flame Princess has still made a couple of appearances since then, so she has not been written out of the show. She's still very much a character. She's just no longer the protagonist's girlfriend character. This is one of the many things that is making the current generations of cartoons so great. The fact that we can tell stories in a coherent way, like we're all on the same, let's just say, adult plane. I don't mean that as an actual age thing, but let's just say we're all on the same level that we can understand and follow the storyline, if you get me. That is why I think so many of these cartoons that are currently out are going to stand the test of time. That's why I think 20 years from now, the same way that I'm talking about cartoons from the 90s, people will talk about cartoons from, this time frame. In 20 years, we'll be talking about Steven Universe. In 20 years, we'll be talking about Gravity Falls, and we'll be talking about Over the Garden Wall. We will have these cartoons probably in our pop culture for a very long time. It's the kind of thing that future nerds like me will point back to and use as examples for whatever is currently out then. That's amazing that we get to live in a time where we get to see this unfold. That's really freaking cool. And I think it will continue on this way for really, hopefully, a long time, until the point where it just becomes oversaturated and something new needs to come along to break the trend again. Of course, not all cartoons are doing this. You do have some that are still their own contained little universes that really aren't all that great. I mean, we do have things like Teen Titans Go, which is kind of its own throwback to old cartoons, just not with any good writing. You have things like Sanjay and Craig, which is another very weakly written animated series. We are seeing something of a return to the late 90s, early 2000s sort of cartoon wasteland of easily produced, lazily written, kind of sloppy humor sort of cartoons. They are kind of re-emerging in this day and age, and I know there will always be a place for that, because it is very simple to just say, okay, we have these foods, and they look weird, and they talk, and they go on wacky adventures, and maybe they go into space, and we have some fart jokes, and, maybe we'll get like 8 episodes out of this. Maybe we'll get like 28. Our animators and our writers get to get some paychecks and eat for a while, and then we'll move on to a new project. Sometimes you gotta just work out the crap to get to the good stuff. However, going back onto the topic of continuity, because I know that once again, I am going off topic, but if you have been listening to me on any of these rambling videos before, you should know this is how it goes. I do get badly off topic. That's why it's called rambling. I'm letting you know what you're in for. I really hope, in the case of My Little Pony, because that is what you were here for, I really hope in the case of My Little Pony that this is a trend that continues. That we do see holidays return, old characters return, mentions of past events, that we see development within our characters continue to happen. Not only does it make for a stronger series, but it's really a thank you to the people who love those characters, that they get to see them grow and change and evolve like, well, normal people would. So, in the case of Raiders of the Lost Cutie Mark, of this episode, which title I've already butchered, it's an Indiana Jones reference, you know what I'm talking about. I really hope that this is something that becomes more common, that we do get to see more story arcs come to a conclusion so that new ones can be begun. Because, you know what? When the staff of My Little Pony really, really want to do a good character, man, they can do a good character. This is the episode that got me to like Diamond Tiara, so hey, good job, guys. So, thank you very much for listening here today. I do appreciate your company, and I will see you again in the next video. Stay pony, my friends.